Court is in session. This is the case of Jackie versus Frank. And what I could see from the paperwork, and I'll ask you in a moment to explain in your own words, is that you had a cousin who was on a boat, driving a boat, and somehow you had an accident and you're blaming Frankie here for not responding. And I believe you sued Frankie. You did not sue your cousin because your cousin is, well, we don't want to get into that here. He's incapacitated mentally and not capable of being sued. Let's just leave it at that. Tell me in your own words now a little bit about what happened.
Well, we were out on the lake. It was a family get-together, and my cousin was in the boat, and I was learning how to water ski. I really am not a person who is very good in the water. I had some issues when I was little, nearly drowning, and so I'm kind of not very good in the water, and I was just starting to learn how to swim again. And I was trying to water ski, and as I was trying, I was getting better and better at it, but apparently my cousin saw something that got him going, and he revved up the boat, and I fell off into the water, and the water was kind of choppy and stuff.
Well, excuse me, but I'm sure you fell off more than once.
Well, I did. I fell off a few times, but this time my cousin didn't come back to get me.
He left you in the water?
Yeah. Every other time he'd be back within 10, 15, 20 seconds, just turn the boat around and fish me out of the water.
And of course you had a life preserver on.
I didn't.
You didn't have a life preserver on?
I didn't have a life preserver on. So my cousins left me in the water, and I'm trying to tread water. Like I said before, I'm not a very good swimmer. I was just really starting to get back into the water.
So eventually he came back, or you wouldn't be here telling this story.
Eventually he did. But while I was in the water, I was trying to get somewhere back to safety, somewhere on shore, and I saw a man sitting on the dock who was just sitting there, and it looked like there was this life preserver there and a little water boat type of a thing. And I started yelling out to him, "Hey, help me, I can't swim well." And he looked at me, and he just got up and went back and sat down in his chair.
Well,
and just ignored me.
So the man that you saw, is this man right here?
Yes, it is.
So you were on the dock?
Yeah,
Did you have a life preserver there?
There was a life preserver on the dock, but I don't even know where to start, okay? I've had a tough time. I sell real estate, the market's dead. My girlfriend just ran off with some hippie biker, okay? My dog, Phil, I can't find him, I don't know where he is. I needed some me time. So,
well, your dog, Phil, was he on the dock with you, or you're not?
No, this was before the
He's not
trip.
involved with your dog, Phil?
No, right. I miss him terribly, and so I rent this place, and I'm all excited to get down there, get some sun and hang out, and you know, it rains almost every damn day. Finally, we get...
Yeah, well, kind of watch your language.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. This case has me very frustrated. I get some nice weather, I'm laying out, I'm sunning myself, I'm chilling out, and you know, I hear this guy just, you know, screaming or yelling. He might have said help or something, I don't know.
Did he know your name, or he didn't know your name?
No, I've never seen the guy in my whole life. I'm just there on vacation, I got my first hour of sunlight, I'm chilling out. I hear this guy's yelling in the water. I don't know what to think. There's people to my left, there's people to my right. No one's doing anything. So I put my music on and I laid back down.
So you did see him in the water?
Yeah, I saw him, but I didn't know what was going on.
Well, you saw this guy in the water, and he said, you were yelling, what were you
I was
saying?
yelling, I was waving my arm like that as much as I could when I'm trying to tread water, and I'm going under and coming back up and coughing, and you know, the water's going down my lungs.
I think you said in your paperwork the waves were like a hurricane.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pretty hard wind blowing that day, and it was pushing the waves up over top of my face, and I'm trying to wave to him, I'm trying to tread water as much as I could. And you know, my face was going under the water. I'm coughing and spitting and all kinds of stuff.
Well, now you're not. You rented this dock, so you don't live at that lake.
No, I don't.
So you didn't think this was somebody you knew just waving at you in the water.
The guy was probably in trouble, but you know, no one takes responsibility for their own actions anymore. I don't even see why I'm here. His cousin left.
Well, because He's saying you didn't take responsibility for your own action of not helping a person in distress.
But half the time you help people anymore, you end up getting sued. You get punished for helping. Now you get punished if you don't help. I don't understand.
Are you saying you were afraid that if you helped them and did something wrong, you might be sued? Because
yeah, what if I throw them?
You wouldn't qualify. We're not going to get into the Good Samaritan, but you wouldn't qualify anyway because you're not a medical provider.
Look, I'm not an attorney. I don't know what goes on with that, but all I know
you didn't want to be sued.
I didn't want to be sued.
But you are being sued.
Yeah, I know. I'm a target. I'm an easy target. They probably, you know, he sees me and he thinks he can score a quick couple G's or whatever, and I think this whole thing's ridiculous. I don't see why he drugged me in here.
Well,
because I was drowning.
But you have to take responsibility. I didn't do it.
Well, let me just clarify a couple things here. Well, you saw him. What would have prevented you from standing up, picking up the life preserver, and throwing it out to him? I believe in the paperwork there was even a jet ski there, right? Did you see a jet ski?
Yeah, so we're one of those, yeah, I don't know what they're called, but yeah, one of those things that you get on and ride across the water on.
And you had a jet ski there, right?
I did have a jet ski, but I also had enough, and I just didn't feel like...
You had what?
I had enough.
What?
I've been having a tough time. I go on vacation, I get days and days of rain, I finally get a glimpse of sun, and this guy who can hardly swim is out in a jet ski.
Yeah, that's the point.
And he gets himself into this situation. There's a ton of people in the house next door there. There's a ton of people in the house next door there. Any one of them could have helped just as easy as I could have, and I don't see why it's on me. Well, he should be suing his cousin. I
think you're the one that had the life preserver. You're the one that heard him. You're the one that looked at him. But let's go back to the life preserver. You didn't have one on, and you don't know how to swim very well, and you're out on a lake.
Right. Well, my cousin promised that he'd be back to me within 10, 15 seconds every time. So I took him at his word and, you know, believed that he would be there, and for some reason, he left me.
Well, legally, I think there are two separate issues here. There's some issues with your cousin, but as we said at the beginning, he's basically not legally immune, but he's no one you could sue because of his mental state. And again, we don't want to get into that today. So, well, what happened after he turned his back on you?
Well, I was floundering in the water, and eventually I started blacking out and stuff, but my cousin eventually came, got me up on the boat, dragged me onto the boat, and as soon as we got back to the shore, my wife said, "You're going to the hospital." I was coughing up water. I could barely breathe, so I was having such a tough time, and so we went to the hospital, and they checked me out.
It says here that one of the things that you're claiming is the cost of the emergency room, which at that time was $250. Then you're seeking $1,000 for mental anguish. Yes. What was the mental anguish?
Well, being in the water and seeing somebody who could help me, and someone just turn his back on me as I'm just about drowning. I'm going under the water.
What about the mental anguish that you caused? Did you cause the mental anguish?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because all I did was, I'm guilty of one thing, and that's chilling out, getting a suntan, and listening to some Christian rock. I didn't do this, I didn't start it, and I couldn't stop it. And, you know, I didn't help, but you know what? His cousin wasn't, where was the cousin? Where were the neighbors? You can't pin your whole incident on me for chilling out while I was on vacation.
What kind of music were you listening to?
I like Christian rock.
Okay, so you're a good Christian.
Were any of those songs about the Good Samaritan?
Well, let me ask you. After you saw him, did you put on more suntan lotion and sat back in the chair and got more sun?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I needed it. It's been a tough time for me, man.
Did you see the boat come to pick him up?
Eventually I think it might have come and got him. I kind of went back into my own world after that. I'm just trying to do my thing. I pay my taxes, I work hard, I saved up for a vacation. I didn't want to get sued. I'm an easy target.
Well, the part about the mental anguish concerns me. It sounds as though you made an intentional decision to sit back down because you saw him. Was it intentional? It wasn't reflex, right?
No.
Because people don't put suntan lotion on normally.
Look, I was putting it on. I had my music on a little loud. I'm sitting there and I'm putting my lotion on, and I could hear through the headphones one of my favorite songs came on. I wanted to hear it, so I put it back on. I wanted to hear the song, and I wanted to get some rays. I didn't want to get
In other words, you didn't want to hear his cries for help. Because you wanted to chill out, you said.
I did, because it's personal responsibility, man. He shouldn't have been out in the water. I would never let any
Well, let's go back to that
like
a minute. How often would you say you water skied before that day?
The day before we started like playing around with it a little bit, and then the next day we were out and the water was a little bit rougher, and
so you said in the paperwork that the waves were like a hurricane, and yet you were water skiing on waves like a hurricane, not being a good swimmer, and not having a life preserver on.
yes. My cousin said he was going to be there to pick me up. And every time before that, he was there. Like when we practiced the day before, it was pretty calm, it was nice, and every 10, 15 seconds, I can tread water for a little bit, he'd be back and he'd pick me up. And
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think he should have done?
I think he should have gotten on that, whatever they're called, jet ski, and brought a life preserver. All he had to do was drop it to me. I could have held on to it, boat could have come, picked me up, it'd have taken 40 seconds.
Yeah, but now I have to get on a jet ski. I have to go in and I'm going to get all wet, freezing cold water. His cousin's out there coming back to get him anyway. And then now I have to hunt down a life jacket, or the person that owns the house. If I don't get it back, I'll have to pay for it. They would have kept my deposit.
Well, I'll tell you what. Do you have any questions of me? Because I'll tell you the procedure here. In a little bit, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to look at the paperwork. I'm going to listen to what you said, and then I'll come back and I'll make a decision. But again, I just want to clarify. So you're looking for $1,250.
Yes, sir.
And your whole defense is what?
Not my problem.
And that people should take responsibility.
Yeah, his cousin and him should have taken care of this. You don't go out in the water if you can't swim.
All right, we'll take a short recess, and I'll come back with the decision. Thank you both. All right, court is back in session, and this is the case involving the life preserver and the water skiing. I find it a little hard to believe, Frank, that you're listening to Christian music and you can't take 20 seconds and take a life preserver and throw it out to a man in distress. However, I also can't believe that you're out on a boat, water skiing, off a boat, no life preserver, not a very good swimmer. So I know that you have now claimed $250 plus $1,000. However, I find in favor of the defendant, based on the fact that he has no legal duty to you, although he may have had a moral duty, legally he cannot be held responsible. Judgment for the defendant. Case dismissed. Thank you both.
Thank you, Judge.
Court is in session. This is the case of Angel versus Jennifer. I can see from the paperwork, you're Angel, you're the person bringing the lawsuit, and you're Jennifer, you're the person being sued.
Yes.
And this is a complaint about seeking money damages for loss of work in the amount of, I think, about $500, $600, and mental distress. I believe that the gist of your complaint is that you went to you have a salon?
Yes.
You went to her salon, and for several months it changed your life. Now what I need to know is a little bit about you, Angel, and why you're here.
I am a teacher at an elementary school, at a Catholic school. I'm very conservative. I believe in family values. I'm very strong with my family.
I won't hold that against you.
Well,
okay.
I guess.
All right.
I wanted to get my hair cut because I was introducing the pastor to the congregation the next day. And my current hairdresser was in jail for drug charges. So I found a salon online.
Okay, we're not here to anything to do with your prior hairdresser, right? She's got her own problems.
Yeah, that's...
So now you're looking for a new salon.
Yeah, I went online and I found the New You salon, and I liked what I saw, so I made an appointment with her. And I went there, and it looked nice. There were no mirrors, which was weird, but I looked past it because I just wanted to get my hair cut.
This is a salon?
Yeah.
You don't have any mirrors in your salon?
No.
No mirrors at all?
No.
Did that make any concern to you, or?
Yeah, I thought it was weird, but I figured she knew what she was doing if she owns a salon, you know.
Okay. So tell me what happened when you got there, because I think they said you signed something, or do you remember?
Yeah, I signed a paper. I thought it was just to be on her mailing list because I've done that before with my at the other salon, and she handed me some tea. She was very nice.
Well, did the paper say that you were going to be on an emailing list? Did you read it?
Not really, no.
Oh, you didn't read it?
No.
She handed you something, you signed it?
I didn't think it was anything bad since I was just in a hair salon. So.
Okay, and then what?
So I signed it, and she was very nice. She smelled of cigarette smoke a little bit, made me uncomfortable. She was talking a lot. She seemed overall like a nice person. She made me some tea. I kind of got a little drowsy after it. Before she cut my hair, I said I wanted it cut not too short, and next thing I knew, I woke up.
Now, we'll come back to you. What did you give her to sign? Do you remember?
A liability form.
Okay, so that would be like, when you say a liability form, so if she signed it, she's saying that she won't sue you, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And do you have all your customers sign that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how about the internet site? Tell me a little bit. She said she found you on the internet.
Well, the website is very popular, actually. That's where most of my clients come from. But we have plenty of pictures with my work, what I've done, feedback, which is positive feedback generally.
So you had pictures of customers?
Yeah.
And they were satisfied customers?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been sued here before?
No.
Well, could you describe some of the work that you did? What did it look like?
Colorful, different colors.
Well,
I told her I was introducing a pastor to the congregation. She dyed my hair like a rainbow.
okay. Well, all right, let's go to
I thought
you.
it looked nice.
She said colorful. How do you define colorful? Tell me what happened after you had the tea.
I woke up in a recovery room, which is why they have a recovery room in salon.
You have a room that's called a recovery room.
Well, yeah, so she could wait in the recovery room while I go and start on another client.
All right. Okay, so you're almost like a hospital. You're in a recovery room.
So
you were sleeping. You wake up, no mirrors, and what happened? You paid her?
What was that?
You paid her.
Yeah, but there was no mirrors, so I figured it felt normal, you know? And I go home, and I walk in the house, and I look in the mirror, and I had a rainbow on my head.
All right. What do you mean you had it like?
My hair was dyed like a rainbow. Different colors, red, orange.
Have you done coloring like that, like a rainbow?
Yeah, that's what we do at my salon.
And that's what the other pictures on the internet show?
Yes.
Well, before you gave her the tea, did she tell you anything?
She just told me she didn't want it too short.
What about color? Did she discuss color?
She just wanted something different.
And you didn't ask her like specifically about a rainbow.
No.
Do you agree that she got a rainbow color?
Yeah, but it looked nice.
You liked it?
Yeah, it looked.
Did you like it?
No.
Okay, tell me what happened. How did it affect you that you're in?
I got fired from Sunday school. I couldn't go out in
you
public.
got fired because you missed Sunday school, or because your hair looked like a rainbow?
Because I couldn't go. And then when I told the people that I work for about what had happened, they knew that I wasn't going to be back anytime soon because of the rainbow on my head, so I had to miss.
Well, why didn't you just go back to her or to somebody else and have the rainbow change back to your normal color?
Because my hair would have fell out if I would have got it dyed automatically, so I had to wait several weeks to get it done.
So you're saying you kind of look like Marge Simpson, but if you went back, then you'd be looking like Homer? Is that what you're saying?
Very much so, yeah.
All right. Well, how did it affect your life?
I got fired from my job, so I was losing money. I missed my work at the elementary school because I couldn't go in looking the way that I did.
Why not?
Because the kids would have made fun of me. I looked unprofessional. I just couldn't go. I was breaking down.
Did you feel that if you went into school that you'd be teased or harassed?
Yes, and I felt like I would have looked unprofessional, and I didn't want to be seen that way, so I couldn't go. So I've lost a lot of money because I wasn't able to work. I couldn't really go out in public. I had to make my family do that for me, like to go grocery shopping or any kind of shopping. Or.
Well, how about when you were out in public? Because you're claiming. Did anybody else ever claim that they felt harassed or ridiculed when?
No, it's the New You salon. You're supposed to look new and different afterwards.
And I think in your answer here, you said people actually refer other people to you.
Yeah.
And they want that.
Yeah.
Do they say
Definitely.
why they want that? I haven't run into anybody with one of your hairstylists.
Well, if you see rainbow hair walking around town, you know she did it.
Well, apparently you're the only one in town doing that. All right, so you lost your job at the elementary school. You didn't lose your job at the elementary school.
No, the Sunday school.
But by choice you didn't go in. They didn't tell you not to come in, right?
They didn't tell me no, but I couldn't do it mentally, physically. I just couldn't handle it.
Well, physically, what would be different? You just have to drive to school, right?
Physical appearance, I just couldn't allow my people to see me like that. I was seen as a nice, like a conservative, reserved Catholic school teacher, and I looked like a fool.
Well, when you say you look like a fool, I'm not clear on this. Didn't you see the pictures on the internet?
The first picture on the homepage was normal girl, brown hair, really pretty. I didn't think anything of it.
All right. So now it's called the New You Saloon. Salon, not a saloon. How long have you been doing this?
A few years.
And would you say, how many people do you do a week, do you think? 10, 20, 30, 4 or 5 a day?
Probably like a little over 15 a week, maybe.
And do you ever do just a normal, like a woman comes in and like with black hair and wants more black, or do you do all color?
I usually do all color.
And when you say color now, you don't mean just color for one color, you mean a variety of colors.
Well, maybe one color, but not just a natural color.
Like purple, green?
Pink.
What are the colors you put in her hair?
Well, I put some red and some pink and maybe a little blue, and then it turned into purple. It looked nice. It looked good.
You thought it looked good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she look better after she left your salon?
Oh, she definitely looked better. She looked
She's
brand
insane.
new.
And that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
The new you. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure I understand your complaint. What about the liability? Why didn't you read what she handed you?
I didn't think anything of it. I was in a hair salon. Why would I have to sign a liability at a hair salon? I thought it was just a mailing list. Because that's common to places that you go, especially when you're new.
But don't you think you should read something that you sign?
Now I know.
But you're especially, I mean, you're a teacher.
I agree.
Well, what about the internet? I don't understand why you didn't click on some of the pictures before you went in.
I saw the salon site. There was one picture on the main site of a girl with normal hair. If she specializes in crazy colors, that should be the first picture on the page. And it wasn't.
Now, are you saying a part of your problem here, besides the fact that you were rainbow, is that this changed your lifestyle? And in what way? You said you're conservative thinking, politics, everything?
Everything, yeah.
But you went to a salon called the New You.
It was a last minute thing. I had to be ready for the next day. And since my last hairdresser was out, I figured this was my
Did you ever fall asleep in a salon before?
Never, no.
But you're not alleging that she drugged you.
I drank the tea, and then after the tea,
what did you give her? You didn't give her any drugs, did you?
No.
What did you give her?
Green tea.
Green tea? And did you have on like salon, spa music?
No.
No? She just fell asleep?
Yeah.
What kind of music did you have? Probably.
Just the radio.
Yeah.
Normal music.
Do people fall asleep often?
Not really.
Well, tell me more about the recovery room. Describe it to me.
It's just like a sitting area, basically. kind of relaxed.
Or
Just for
like-
people to sit and not be bothered while their treatment is kind of finishing. And I could work on other clients.
Okay. But after they get a haircut, why do they need a recovery room? You're just doing it as a courtesy?
Well,
or-
she was sleeping, so I figured I'd let her sleep.
So you kind of moved her and she didn't wake up?
I was moved. I did not wake up.
Did you find that unusual?
A little bit. But she seemed pretty stressed out when she came in, so.
Well, do you usually ask questions before you color somebody's hair like that?
Well, sometimes, but usually it's the element of surprise. That's why people come to my salon.
For the element of surprise? Mm-hmm. Would you say she was surprised?
Yeah,
And that's why you're here today, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. What we'll do is I'll be adjourning now, and then I'll come back with the decision. Do either one of you have anything else you want to add? I think I have all the information. You're seeking basically a couple $1,000.
I think her salon should be closed down.
Well, that I should close it down.
I want money. I want.
All right.
She ruined me.
I think
right.
she looked better.
You thought she looked better,
Yeah.
and that you gave
She
her
shoulda
everything she
kept it.
expected.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
All right, I'm going to go back and make a decision, so stand in recess. All right, we're back in session here. I think your internet site, from what you described, generally portrays everything. I'm concerned that you didn't have a discussion with her before you gave her a rainbow treatment and say, do you understand what we're doing? But on the other hand, you did give her a release of liability. On your part, I'm concerned that you didn't spend a little more time investigating the salon. It's called a new you, and you just thought it was a normal salon. But you also didn't read what you were handed. You were handed a release of liability. So you said that you wouldn't sue her. And you did not get what you went in there to get. So that's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just require her to refund the money that you paid for the haircut. But beyond that, I think that you should have taken the responsibility to investigate what was going on. I'm also concerned, though, that you have a recovery room. As to request for me to shut her down, I cannot do that. But I am going to tell her that when the client comes in, that you need to have a better discussion with them. So judgment for the plaintiff for the return of the money, case dismissed. In the first case, I decided against the plaintiff because the person sitting on the dock did not have any legal responsibility to the person in the water. The person that was in the water got there by their own actions and partially the negligence of a third party, the cousin, who drove away with the speedboat. There may have been a moral duty on the part of the person sitting on the dock to help a person in need. But in terms of this court, it was a decision based on the law, not on a moral duty. The second case was a little more difficult because the person suing had the responsibility to do a little more investigation as to what kind of salon she was going to. There was no real surprise because the internet site from the testimony made it clear what kind of salon it was. However, and the other part was the person suing signed a release of liability without reading it. So I couldn't give her legally all the money she asked for, but I felt she should at least get the money back for the haircut. So thank you for watching. Check us out on Facebook. Thank you, SSP TV.